Hey everyone, good afternoon, happy Friday. Hope everybody's having a good day. Ready for the weekend, honestly. But we had a strong finish to the week this week. And yeah, a lot of good stuff going on in the Black Room this week. I wanted to come on and do a video on talking about breakouts and identifying where the struggle is. All right, when I refer to struggle, I'm talking about the battle in the level of conviction between buyers and sellers, right, and how that's represented in candlesticks. So that's kind of going to be the topic. And yesterday we had the PDCO and DRI, which both gave examples of breakouts. And then the DVN and KMX today presented some breakouts too. And what I wanted to talk about was we saw two patterns specifically in the PDCO and DVN where we kind of had a breakout failure, where the initial breakout would look to be a breakout turned out not to be a breakout, and then the KMX and DRI yesterday gave two examples of really good breakouts. All right, so let's jump in here. Let's start with the PDCO. We'll start yesterday. PDCO had a buy set up in the morning. I think it was actually on the it was on the 2-minute chart. Yeah, 2-minute buy setup right here. All right. Yesterday, believe it or not, I know this was a big red bar, but at the time that this buy setup formed, we had a gap up that cleared the area on the daily chart, and this is what I like to call kind of a transition gap. Right, we're transitioning out of this base. We get this gap down from several months ago. We get a base sideways, and it looks like we're going to be transitioning out of this base. Time will still tell if that'll happen, but yesterday this was a green bar at the open in this tail, and so I had a long bias on this, all right, on the PDCO. Now, we got a strong reaction right at the area of kind of this breakout failure, which is what we're going to kind of talk about. But I wanted to look at the daily chart here and show you guys that we did have a pro gap up, which is what I was going after on the larger time frames, right? We opened, got a wide range bar of conviction, pulled back, and then we did this buy setup. I didn't take a picture of the numbers I put out in the room, but we were doing this buy setup. I had a call on this in this 1-minute buy setup that never triggered and ended up failing. Okay, so I had a call that was canceled on the 1-minute buy setup. We came in, we did this 2-minute buy setup, but because of the bearishness of this retracement, I ended up passing on the first buy setup. Base sideways a little bit, retested, came up and based again here. All right, so this was the pattern here. Now, let me go back to the 1-minute. Hold on a second. It's just going to give me a second because this did break out. The trigger was a breakout on the 1-minute, and we had a shakeout beforehand. Okay, so here was the breakout. This red line. All right, here was the breakout, and here was the stop. All right, so it's roughly a 25-cent stop. I sized it to 25 cents. Okay. Now, looking at this breakout, what I wanted to point out here is that there was a struggle, right? This stock is clearly transitioning here, right? And somewhere in this location is going to be transition A. All right, that's what we look to play long at the point of transition A and a pullback. All right, and what I wanted to focus in on was we got this move up and then this base. Okay, so I think most people will be able to see that this is a base breakout here. All right, the important part for me when I look at this breakout is to identify where the struggle is. All right, and this bar right here, bottoming tail, and happened to get a small volume spike here, right? Volume spike isn't everything, but when the volume spike coincides with this bottoming tail, or what I always say, when the volume is a clear indication of trading going on between novice traders and professional traders, it's important to me. All right, so I only use volume when the transaction is between novice traders and professional traders. And right here it was, okay? Novice traders tried to push this stock down, right? We were basing up here, trying to continue to move lower, and the pros stepped right up, ended up buying the stock, and then we had a breakout. All right, so the note that I really wanted to point out is that the struggle went on before the breakout, and once we got the breakout, we ended up getting follow-through afterwards. Okay, so these are the kind of breakouts that I like to take, is that when the struggle goes on before the stock breaks out, that's what I want to be in. All right, so that was the PDCO breakout. Now, interestingly enough, we came up and we kind of were messing around with this $25 area. All right, we had a couple attempts here to move higher to break this $25 area. We had a steep pullback, came back up, broke the 25 by a couple pennies, came back up here, right? So we're really kind of testing this $25 area. Now, this ended up breaking out, but I think 1 penny here. But this is the price action that we ended up getting here, was that we got this bottoming tail here, right? And then at the point when this was trying to break out, the offer went to like 2507, and we tried to break out here and we weren't able to, right? And so there was a big struggle going on here where we kept breaking this $25 by a couple pennies here. All right, so at $25, we broke by a couple pennies here, a penny here, a couple pennies here, a couple more pennies here. And the importance here that I was focusing in on was even when we were trying to break out here, there was still a struggle going on after the breakout. And that's not the kind of position that I want to be in, right? I don't want to take a breakout where the struggle is continuing after the stock so-called breaks out, because it tells me that the level of conviction in the buyers isn't as strong as the sellers, or the sellers are just still, there's still a lot of supply coming into the stock, right? So I wanted to point out the difference here, and this was the PDCO yesterday, right? So we had the struggle go on before the breakout, and we get this wide range bar, and we followed through, and then as we tried to break out here, there was still a struggle after the breakout. So I ended up trailing half here, which wasn't too much, and then the back half ended up trailing out. So it really made like a quarter R or something. It wasn't that big of a winning trade, but if we look at this area, and I don't think this was good enough to take a short position, but that was a very significant area where we had a lot of struggle after the breakout, and then a lot of selling ensued after that, right? Okay, so that was the PDCO, where the entry we got to struggle before the breakout, and then we got to struggle after the breakout, which we ended up trailing some. Okay, DRI, let's go back to the 2 minute at the morning. This was actually Sammy's mention here, right? And we had a struggle go on before the breakout here, and then we broke out and continued higher. All right, and then also on the 5 minute, this is a different style breakout right here. Broke out and just started grinding higher here. All right, so that was the DRI yesterday. All right, so then today we had the KMX. All right, let me go back to the 1 minute chart. Here's what I put it in the room, 78 by 77 on the KMX. Okay, here was the breakout. All right, basing the tails here, right? Really clean base, and then we ended up getting this breakout. And after the stock broke out, it continued to move higher here. All right, there wasn't a struggle after the KMX broke out here. So the long was 78 by 77 here. Had to live through this, but if you did manage to live through this, then you got a really nice move afterwards, right? And I mentioned that this was target 1 once we got this green bar here. Okay, so that was the KMX. So this is an example of when the stock comes up, base is sideways. We have a lot of struggle before the breakout, but once we do break out, we get a nice clean breakout that goes higher. All right, and this is something that I personally have to watch the price action once the breakout happens. Like, I know this is just a 1 minute bars candle, but I'm watching this price action. The first thing I'm doing is, and I don't know if there's going to be a breakout failure before it happens. I never know exactly what's going to happen, but one way for me to avoid the getting into a breakout failure is there a failure, is there a struggle before the breakout? And then secondly, once the stock does break out, does the struggle continue after the breakout? All right, so that was the KMX, and then the DVN I had a call on this morning, which really only made like 2/3 of an R, but this was the DVN 4350 by 4323 here. Okay. Let's go to the 1 minute this morning. I remember the DVN opened a little bit late this morning. Yeah, okay, so DVN opened. We came up. We got a 100% retracement. And then we ended up basing sideways here, right? Right around 43.50 area. Okay, so once we got this struggle, right here, where the stock tried to move lower, right into the moving average, we had a strong wide range bar, retested, came up, retested once more, and then we got a breakout. All right, so the entry was a breakout inside of a 1-2 minute buy setup. All right, so 1-2 minute buy setup. Just before transition, we had a failure pattern here. Once we broke out, the struggle did not continue afterwards. All right. Okay, so oil ended up getting hit a little bit here, and then we came up to 43.81. All right, and we based at 43.81 for 6 minutes or so, right? Which is a substantial time, especially when it's only 10 o'clock in the morning. Okay, so base at 43.81, and then we came up here, and we just broke out, and the struggle continued. Right? Once we broke this 43.80, the struggle continued. And that's what I was watching. So as soon as the struggle continued, I mentioned to trail half DVN 1 minute bar by bar. And then we ended up moving the back half to 43.60 here. Right? So the first half we ended up trailing here, and the back half we ended up trailing underneath this pivot. And why did we end up trailing this? Because the struggle continued after the breakout, right? And so that's kind of what I was watching. And also, the DVN happened just after the PDCO here, right? So we ended up getting out half here, and the back half ended up trailing here. This pattern happened right after the PDCO, which was very similar yesterday as far as exits, right? We had this struggle here. So both of these trades ended up making the PDCO was a very small winner. I think it was like a quarter R or something like that, right? The DRI was a little bit over half an R. So they weren't really big winners, right? We did have some really big winners this week. We had the PCRX yesterday, right? I think it was the PCRX. Yeah, PCRX yesterday, and the Starbucks from the day before, right? But I wanted to do a quick video because it came up twice on where does the struggle take place, right? Does the struggle take place before the breakout, and then once it breaks out, it continues higher? Or does the struggle continue after the breakout? So those are the two things that I use to try to avoid breakout failures. It's not 100%. I still get sucked into breakout failures every once in a while. But I think that if you use those two things, one is there a struggle beforehand? And secondly, if you watch the price action afterwards, does the struggle continue? That those are two really good ways that I use to decide whether or not I feel that this breakout is sustainable or not. All right. Okay. Hopefully that's helpful, guys. Let me know if you have any questions. And yeah, as always, stay in process. I hope everybody has a great weekend. I'm excited for earnings season. I think we only have like 2 or 3 more weeks left. But yeah, just grinding out the weeks and the slow times, focusing on the really good gaps here, and yeah, just the adding the winners up. That's the main goal. So hopefully this was helpful, and I will talk to you guys next week. Thanks, guys.